Welcome into NBA Now. This is Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jay Senior. Hope all of you are having a great week. On the show today, a really difficult list for me to put together, but I did my best. Last week, we did our NBA Power Rankings, and to be able to list the level of play of all 30 teams in the NBA was a very tall task. On today's show, the task was even greater, even steeper, and even more challenging. Put together a list of the top 10 starting lineups in the NBA following the NBA draft and free agency going into the 2022-2023 season. We'll take a look at that top 10 coming up around the corner, but first, I want to hear from you in the comment section. Embrace debate and sound off. And feel free to rip me in the comment section right now. What is your top starting lineup in the NBA? You let me know right now. Without further ado, let's get to my list. Coming in at number 10, it is the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a lineup that really has it all. Athleticism, length, youth, versatility. Ja Morant, he's going to be an MVP caliber player this year. Steven Adams can hold it down in the trenches. Dillon Brooks is that gritty wing that you like. Desmond Bane was awesome from three-point range last year. Jaren Jackson Jr., a really good four. You can certainly make the argument that the Memphis Grizzlies should be higher on this list. Why are they number 10? Because going in to 2022-2023, they're going to be without Jaren Jackson Jr. He had that wrist surgery this offseason, which I think is going to impact the Grizzlies, not just offensively, but on both ends of the floor. He's an emerging player who's really good, but the Grizzlies a little bit lower coming in at number 10 because he's going to be out. Not sure who is going to take that starting position in that lineup. At number 9, this might be deemed controversial, but look, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are still on the Nets. And if they play this upcoming season in Brooklyn, this is a really good team. Kyrie, Joe Harris, who barely played last year because of a bunch of injuries to his lower extremities, he's a really good three-point shooter. Nicholas Claxton is a serviceable big, especially on this team. You have Kevin Durant, who's due for 30 points every single night, and we haven't seen Ben Simmons play in more than a calendar year ever since the second-round flameout against the Atlanta Hawks. But Ben Simmons, as a passer, he's a first-team defender, a guy who, if he plays that Draymond Green role, could be a really valuable asset for Brooklyn as a passer, defender, switcher, a guy who can run the pick and roll, who can throw down some dunks off the alley-oop and then hang out in that dunker spot, but also pass out of the low post to the surrounding shooters. Brooklyn Nets, folks, not only do they have a really good starting five, a very good bench unit as well, bringing in guys like TJ Warren and Royce O'Neal with that trade earlier this offseason. Checking in at number 8, it's the Denver Nuggets, led by the two-time defending MVP in the Joker. Now we're operating under the premise that Jamal Murray is going to be healthy, and Michael Porter Jr. will also come back off those lingering back issues, which continue to be a problem. I think they upgrade defensively by bringing in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who can also just let it fly and shoot the three, and then Aaron Gordon. I like his fit on this roster. Last year, operating as a number 2, that ain't it. Him operating as basically option 4 on this lineup, who's a really high flyer and good defensive player, a critical component to that starting 5, and an addition that I really like. And with the Nuggets, if he's slotted in that spot, a big one of those complementary pieces, that's when his value is at its best. At number 7, the New Orleans Pelicans. They could be higher on this list. Some might say they could be lower on this list. And these first couple of teams, they're beating out the Chicago Bulls, by the way, who, after being the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference for much of last year, they were bad coming down the stretch, and I'm not sure what the deal is with Lonzo Ball if he's going to be able to play again. But for the New Orleans Pelicans, this is a better starting 5 than the teams that we talked about, and a better starting 5 than the Chicago Bulls. High-level defense with Herb Jones. Jonas Valanciunas was great last year. Love his inside-outside play. You get back Zion Williamson. C.J. McCollum is a veteran leader that this young team really needed, and Brandon Ingram is one of the best, if not the best, young ascending scoring wings in the league with an array of offensive moves in his toolbox who can give you 25 to 30 points per night. I love the construction of this roster, and I think that this starting 5 could be one of the sleeper teams in the NBA. They could make a deep run in the Western Conference playoffs a year after they push the Phoenix Suns to 6 games with a young and inexperienced team without the services of Zion Williamson. What do you think about the Pelicans? Are they too high Are they too low? You have an opportunity to join the show and be honest with me. H for high, L for low, O for outside of the top 10. Join the conversation right now in the comment section. We move ahead in this list. At number 6, Philadelphia 76ers. Bleacher Report had this starting 5 at number 3. I disagree. Now, I like the starting 5. I think that James Harden is better nowadays at this point of his career, being a third offensive option behind Tyrese Maxey, who took a monster jump from his freshman campaign to his sophomore season. 17.5 points per game last year in the regular season, more than 20 points per game in the playoffs, and he shot around 40% from distance. I think that Joel Embiid, although he's finished runner-up back-to-back years to the Joker in MVP voting, is actually better than the Joker because I think he's a more dominant player and more versatile. Yes, you can tell me about the rebounding and passing numbers from the Joker, but Embiid, I just think that he's the most dominant big that we've seen in the NBA since Shaq. Tobias Harris, very good wing who can make it rain from 3, put the ball on the floor just a little bit and finish around the rim. But again, him being that, complimentary option here on the Sixers is good. And then PJ Tucker, very good defender. He can guard some of the best wings in the NBA, good rebounder, has that corner 3, and of course familiarity with James Harden going back to those Houston Rockets days. 5 more teams left to get to on this list of the top 10 starting lineups going into next year in the NBA. But first, it's summertime. And even if it's cold where you live, you can still get your hands on these fresh NBA hats, and they're available right now. Bunch of good deals, bunch of really good styles available, only if you use that link at the bottom of your screen. Thanks to Fanatics. It's chatsports.com/NBA hats. There are hats available for all 30 teams in the NBA. Hop on those deals right now. Look fresh in the process. Get swagged up and swagged out by going to chatsports.com/NBA hats. That link is living right now in the comment section and the description of this video. To the Phoenix Suns right now, this is the same exact roster that we saw last year. And going into last year, they were probably higher. And at the end of last year in the regular season, you were probably thinking Phoenix Suns, arguably a 1, 2, or 3 top 3 starting lineup in the NBA. Right now, they bumped down to 5 because I thought they had some holes throughout the playoffs last year. But CP3 still playing at an elite level. Devin Booker is just such a good offensive player who can do a plethora of things on that end. He's also turning into a better defensive player because of that effort. You bring back DeAndre Ayton, want to see a jump from him, especially defensively. Jay Crowder is a prototypical 3-and-D wing, and Mikal Bridges going to continue to grow on that wing spot as well. This is a sneaky team here. At that 4 position, it's the Los Angeles Clippers. Look, if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and if he didn't miss all of last year, he'd be a top 5 player in the NBA. The guy has won the NBA Finals MVP twice and has a couple of championships. So if he's healthy coming off that ACL injury, this team is going to be a problem. Him alongside Paul George. They could have won the NBA title 2 years ago if Kawhi didn't go down. They still almost made a deep playoff run with Paul George leading the charge. Nicholas Batum, he can spread the floor and be that floor spacer at that 4 spot. Zubats is really good, but really the big addition here, it's John Wall. And then coming in off the bench, really good team there. I think the Clippers, if they're able to stay healthy, they can be a problem in the Western Conference as well. If a playoff series were to happen starting tonight between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Clippers, who do you think would be victorious? PHX for the Suns, LAC for the Clippers. Predict it right now and let me know who would come out on top. To the reigning Eastern Conference champions and the Boston Celtics, they've gotten deeper, they've gotten better. Now, it could be interchangeable at that point guard spot between Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon. I have no idea what Ime Udoka is thinking here. You could start Smart at the 2 and then take out Al Horford and just go with the front court of Robert Williams and start Malcolm Brogdon at that 1. But right now, had he had the Celtics any lower when they just won the East and they pushed that series in the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors to 6 games. 2 great wings who are still young and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And this unit on both ends of the floor, they pose a bunch of different mismatches against the opposition. At number 2, you're like, okay, hold on. The Boston Celtics, they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. They didn't have Chris Middleton. Did the previous defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. You bring back Middleton into this equation, and I like the makings of this starting five. Drew Holiday, impact two-way player who can change the complexion of a playoff series. Most dominant player in the NBA is Giannis. Wesley Matthews looked as though a couple of years he was going to be out of the NBA, but he can shoot the three and he can defend. Lopez can still give you pretty productive minutes. Hopefully he continues to come back off that back injury, and I think that Chris Middleton is actually underrated because he's a really good scorer who can really get a shot off from anywhere. We'll get to our number one starting lineup in just a second, but first, predict the NBA Finals matchup. I'm hoping for a Milwaukee Bucks Golden State Warriors NBA Finals. I think that would be the best playoff series that we can see because I think the Bucks would be able to be victorious over the defending NBA champions because I'm not sure who on the Warriors would be able to defend Giannis. But got to give the Warriors their props. You have to give them their dues. They're the number one starting five in the NBA going into this upcoming season. Why? They just got it done. They just won another NBA championship. And really, much of this crew has made it to 8 NBA Finals trips over the last, they've made 6 NBA Finals trips, over the last 8 years, and they've won 4 championships during that span. Steph Curry, is he the second best player in the NBA? He's at least top 3 or top 5 guy and still has some really good years left. Klay Thompson is actually going to have a normal offseason to really get in the peakest form of shape, not having to worry about coming off a severe injury. You could either start Kevon Looney, you could go with James Wiseman if you want to go with the more athletic and younger option. Draymond Green, still one of the best defenders in the NBA. Andrew Wiggins was the second best player for the Warriors during the NBA Finals, coming off his first All-Star campaign, and the Warriors just got it done. So a lot of people will say, the Dubs, they're not the number one starting five in the NBA. To me, they are, because they're literally the NBA champions. So a lot of you are going to rip me. A lot of you are going to criticize this list. Some of you might praise it. Either way, I want you to be honest with me and go back to school, get those pens out, get those grades in. A, B, C, D, or F, how did I do? Chime in and let me know.